All right, what's up? What's up? What's up? It feels so good to be back. And it's been a while. It's been a while for Cool Down with AC. We had some allergy issues. We had some technical issues with the internet over here and all kinds of that. But enough with those excuses. Finally, it is on. Conor McGregor, Floyd Money Mayweather Jr. April 26th. April. August 26th. August 26th. Come on, AC. Get with the game here. August 26th, Las Vegas, Nevada, T-Mobile Arena. We're going to see it happen. And to say I'm fired up would be an understatement. And I've heard and read and seen all the stuff that this is a joke. It's not a real fight. It's not this. It's not that. And I will tell you this. And I'm not going to sit here and give you a prediction now. We'll do that right before the fight. We got a ways to go for that. And there's an aspect of this I really want to see before I give an actual prediction. Likelihood, I'll probably pick Mayweather. Just for the simple fact that boxing is his discipline. And I get that. But the idea that Conor McGregor has zero chance of landing punches or is not a game opponent in and out of the ring, by the way, and doesn't have a few things in his favor going into this fight that maybe other opponents of Mayweather haven't had, is ridiculous. And I was listening to Teddy Atlas on the Michael K show, and I don't want to get in everything he said. And Teddy Atlas is a well-respected boxing guy, and we all know all his years and all his knowledge, and I would never sit here and tell you that I know even a fraction about boxing, what that Teddy Atlas does. But I could tell you this, based on his comments, I know a hell of a lot more about Conor McGregor than Teddy Atlas does. And you can call Conor McGregor a caveman all you want because he has a beard at times. And he screams when he's on, weighing in. And he's a nut and all that stuff. But if you don't think Conor McGregor is every bit as savvy, probably even more than Mayweather, you got another thing coming. I've heard Dana White say this many times. And as we go on here, for you people listening on iTunes and maybe even Spreaker, you're going to get this audio. And you also got the pre-show audio that came on before this. YouTube listeners, I'm sorry you can't hear that stuff. It's too bad. But if you want to hear this show in its entirety, the way it's meant to be heard, please head to the iTunes or even the Spreaker if you know what that is. 1650 PWAM at Cool Down with AC. You can find it there. And hear the show in its entirety in the way it's meant to be heard. We have some post-fight interview stuff. We have some music. We're going to get, as we go on here, to a first take segment with Dana White, Max Kellerman, and Stephen A. And why I chose that was basically this. First of all, Dana White's involved. Second of all, Max Kellerman is your run-of-the-mill boxing guy. And Stephen A is a good boxing guy in and of himself. He's not Max Kellerman, but he's decent. He knows what he's talking about when it comes to boxing. But I also think Stephen A was at Madison Square Garden when Conor McGregor destroyed Eddie Edwards. Or Eddie Alvarez. I keep mixing up the wrestler and the boxer, or the MMA fighter. Eddie Alvarez, the MMA fighter, the former 155-pound champion. He saw Conor McGregor become the double champion. He saw some of that mystique and that aura that surrounds Conor McGregor. And listen, it's tough to argue for a guy who never boxed professionally against a guy who's 49-0. But this idea that Mayweather is the only guy to go 49-0 is not true. He retired at 49-0, like Marciano did. And listen, all chances are he's going to be 50-0. But I've said this before. Julio Cesar Chavez won like 87 fights in a row. He didn't end up undefeated. He fought like 90 to 100 times. It's not out of the realm what Mayweather's done. The greatest thing that Mayweather's done is he made himself bigger than the game. His biggest thing when he talks about Conor McGregor is, I never seen an MMA fighter make $100 million. I never seen an MMA fighter make $75 million. I never seen an MMA fighter make $50 million. I never seen an MMA fighter blah, 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 blah. Now, Conor's the guy that's setting the bar. Conor is setting the bar in MMA money-wise the way Floyd did in boxing. And most of the guys in boxing now that have made those big-time paydays have fought Floyd. I heard something the other day, and I don't know if it's 100% accurate, but it's probably in the realm, that Andre Ward is worth like $8 million. Now, listen, that's a good chunk of change, right? Andre Ward, if he's not the best fighter other than Mayweather right now, active, because Mayweather's, is he active, is he not? I would say fighting Conor McGregor wouldn't put him in the pound-for-pound argument anymore. I don't think Floyd's in that argument anymore. When he left, he was top. There's no way to take that away from him. But let's say Andre Ward is 1, 2, or 3, depending on what list you look at. I'm a big Lomachenko guy. There's a lot of people that are big Lomachenko guys. I'm also a big Triple G guy. But it's hard to argue after what Andre Ward did Saturday night, which none of you know, because nobody cared about him fighting Sergey Kovalev. Even though Kovalev probably won the first fight. Nobody cared. And Andre Ward won. And listen, I thought it was a little low, borderline, whatever. I don't know how you end a championship boxing fight on a controversial punch like that. That's what we deal with in sports these days. It happens in the UFC. It happens in all pro sports. So you live with it. But Andre Ward is in that conversation for the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and he's worth $8 million. Or in or around. He ain't worth what Floyd was worth. You know, Marcos Maidana doesn't have $12 million in his bank account if he doesn't fight Floyd Mayweather. I think the only other fighter to make over $100 million is Pacquiao, and he did it fighting Mayweather. Manny Pacquiao is fighting on ESPN his next fight. Let that sink in for a second. Manny Pacquiao is fighting on ESPN. So this idea that these boxers make so much more than these MMA fighters is inaccurate unless you're talking about the top guy fighting Mayweather, and I'm sure Canelo and Triple G will make a very large sum of money for their fight. The idea that they were going to sell more pay-per-views than Pacquiao Mayweather did was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. Because I can walk through the mall right now, and I always say this, and say, name the most 2 famous boxers right now. You're going to hear Mayweather, Pacquiao. 9 times out of 10. You're not going to hear Canelo. You're not going to hear Triple G. You're not going to hear Lomachenko. You're not going to hear Andre Ward. The same way, if you walk through the mall and go, name the number 1 UFC fighter out there today. Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor. It's not going to be Stipe Miocic. It's not going to be Daniel Cormier. It's not going to be Michael Bisping. It's not going to be Tyron Woodley. It's not going to be Max Holloway. It's not even going to be Cody Garbrandt, which he might be number 2 if he fights Dillashaw sometime soon. And it's damn sure not going to be Demetrius Johnson, who's probably pound for pound really the best guy. Who's the 135 women's champion? If they don't know Ronda lost, they'll probably still say Ronda. You think they know who Amanda Nunes is? They don't even have a 145 women's champion right now. They strip drained Amanda of the title because she wouldn't fight Cyborg. And really, this is the real, we'll get into this down the road, but the real 145 featherweight women's title fight is happening in July at UFC 240 between Cyborg and Anderson. They're the two best 145ers in the world by a long shot. So whoever wins that fight will be the best. And you have Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and I'll say this to the cows go home. Other than Conor and Matey Cody, my favorite fighter to watch in UFC. All her fights are exciting, they're fun. Even if they go to a distance, they're fun. She's a tremendous fighter. She's not a main eventer. Not yet. I hope she gets there, but she's just not. The two biggest names in combat sports. And Mayweather hasn't fought in a year and a half. Mayweather, McGregor. And it's not even close. And the fans and the media and the two fighters have been clamoring for this. Dana White has said, I made the fight you guys wanted. And listen, the boxing community could be as butthurt about this as they want to be. And they are. Even my friends in the boxing community are so butthurt about this fight. Why? Listen, anybody with combat sports knowledge knows what this is. And the regular casual viewer who is turning in, guess what? They're watching your sport. They're watching a UFC fighter. Both sports are getting a promotion out of it. Maybe you get some more boxing fans. Maybe you get some more MMA fans. What is wrong with that? Do you think you're going to promote your sport by nobody watching it? And listen, Manny Pacquiao, give him credit for fighting on free TV. I'm sure he's being, in one way, shape, or form, taken care of for it. But he's bringing viewers to his sport. He's just doing it a different way. You're telling me right now, if that Floyd and Conor fight fell through, and Conor was like, fuck Mayweather, give me Pacquiao. Pacquiao would cancel that fucking ESPN fight so fucking fast and run to fight McGregor, your heads would spin. And De La Hoya can go out and rip it all he wants. But if Conor McGregor said, I want to fight Canelo Alvarez, he would have, Dana White would have been on fucking speed dial. And listen, the elephant in the room is this, and everybody knows it. It's about money. But there's a reason it's about money. People want to see it. The UFC has made their bones on giving people the fights they want to see. So their promoter, love him or hate him, the man who is the reason MMA is at where it's at right now, I'm going to take my biggest fighter and make the fight everybody wants to see. And I've heard Dennis say this, and we could get into semantics and go over numbers or whatever else. But his point is valid. I could have had Conor McGregor fight 2 MMA fights in the time it took to get this whole thing together. And had over 1 million pay-per-view buys for both of them and made a shit ton of money. He's probably 100% right about that, by the way. He did what his fighter wanted. He did what his fan base wanted. He did what the media wanted. And listen, Floyd Mayweather put himself in a tough spot here. If he doesn't take the fight against Conor McGregor, oh, Floyd's running, he's just talking trash, he don't want to fight, he don't want none of Conor. Then Floyd takes it, and his own sport turns on him. Oh, how could you do that to the purity of boxing? I'm going to let you all in on a little secret you should already fucking know. There is no purity in boxing, okay? I was in the industry. We know the game, okay? So don't play boxing holier than thou with me. Because I'll tell you something right now. It's the most corrupt fucking sport there is. So how is it holier than... How dare Floyd interrupt the purity of boxing? Give me a break. Give me a stinking break. And guess what? If Conor is that bad a fucking boxer, and if Floyd Mayweather with two bad fucking hands, being over 40 years old and probably a lot slower than he was when he fought Ricky Hatton, which is the guy I keep hearing the boxing purists bring up. If you think that this fight is going to be anything like the goddamn fight he had with Ricky Hatton, you got another thing coming. Ricky Hatton and Conor McGregor couldn't be two different guys. The only thing even remotely similar about Ricky Hatton and Conor McGregor is they're white. Give me a break. Purity of boxing. Come on, man. I mean, is that not the funniest fucking thing you ever heard in your life? And I love boxing. Don't get me wrong. And I get the sweet science. And listen, Anthony Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko, best fight I've seen all year, either sport. Hands down. Tremendous fight. Can't wait for the rematch. Tremendous fight. And boxing's got a lot of good. Thurman and Danny Garcia was tremendous. Keith Thurman and Danny Garcia could both fight any day. I'll watch it. I'm pumped for Triple G and Canelo. I like Canelo, but I love Triple G. I can't wait for that fight. I can't wait till Lomachenko fights again. There's a lot of good boxers right now. Why don't they use this opportunity to promote their sport instead of trying to bring other fucking people down? They would all run for the money. Run for the money. And this has nothing to do with technical chances of Conor McGregor. This has nothing to do with should Conor McGregor... Listen, people are afforded opportunities because of who they are, because of what they did, because they made a name for themselves. I'll tell you this right now. I got all over CM Punk. I got into a big fight with Hollywood Edwards right here on 1650 PWAM. Big fight with Edwards. Probably the biggest fight we ever got in. About CM Punk and this whole idea where believe in your dreams and you could do it. If Conor McGregor loses that fight and has one of those speeches, I will be all fucking over him the way I was all over CM Punk. But I'm telling you, son, it ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. He won't say stupid shit like that. Conor knows why he has this spot. At the end of the show, I'm going to play this back and forth. It's a cut-up trash talk between the two of them. And at one point, Conor's like, Floyd, Dana offered me 25 million. Floyd offered me 50 million. I'm sitting on my fucking couch watching the millions rise. Conor McGregor knows why he got this fight. There is not a name in boxing right now, and Floyd told you this himself, that could get Floyd the payday he's going to get. And if you don't think that factors into this fight just a little bit, you're sadly mistaken. I don't trust Mayweather's motivation in this fight, but I know what Conor McGregor's is. Legacy. Conor McGregor wants money just as much as you, me, and the next guy down the street. But I'll tell you something else about Conor McGregor. How many times is he talking about leaving a legacy, making his mark? I'll tell you, listen, we know he's doing it for the money too. But if you don't think that there's belief in that man's head that he could win this fight, you do not know who that man is. He may be 100% wrong, and he may not even have, he may have the 0% chance of landing a punch that Max Kellerman said he had, which is patently ridiculous, by the way. Because Conor McGregor will throw punches while he's getting punched all day. He knocks guys out doing it. I don't think that's, I mean, listen, Conor McGregor is, a lot of his knockouts have come from counter punches. It's going to be very tough against Mayweather. We know that. We could get into technicalities all we want. We'll do that in the second segment. But the bottom line is this. That man believes he can win. He's not blowing smoke up your ass. This is almost, I don't want to say it because Rocky obviously didn't have a name. It's a movie. It's this, that, and the other. But the premier boxer versus this relative unknown in boxing. This underdog. The guy who can never do a thing. You have that a little bit here with Conor. He's a savage. He's a savage. The guy cashed a welfare check 4 years ago. Don't think Conor McGregor's this little rich kid who just happened to make it in MMA. You're sadly mistaken if you think that. Now listen, we know Floyd's background. We know how rough and rugged he is too. This fight makes a lot of sense in that nature. But I'll tell you this. Conor McGregor fought a man, and you boxing guys probably don't even know his name, probably don't even care, named Jose Aldo. Hadn't lost a fight in 10 years. Was the only featherweight champion in the history of the UFC. Conor knocked him out with one punch. But you want to know where Conor won that fight? Conor won that fight mentally. He broke Aldo before he got to the octagon. No spot is too big for Conor McGregor. He will be confident. He will be cocky. And he will walk in there like he belongs. That's huge. Huge as an underdog. And he's going to be a huge underdog. We'll take a quick break. Let's listen to the first take segment. We'll be right back. Cool Down with AC, 1640 PWAM. If you're listening on YouTube, you won't hear this segment. Like I said, head to iTunes, head to Spreaker. You can catch the full show in its entirety there. But if you just want to hear comments, listen on the YouTube, and we'll be right back in a second. All right, what's up? We're back. 1640 PWAM. Cool Down with AC segment, part 2, segment 2 of part 1 of the build to Conor and Floyd. Right here, once again on 1650 PWAM. YouTube listeners, you had a very short break. And our iTunes Spreaker listeners, obviously you heard the first take segment. And listen, Max Kellerman's a boxing purist. Stephen A. is a boxing guy per se. I think Dana's being very genuine with what he's saying about this fight. And the thing of this is, for me, we all know the deck is stacked in Floyd's favor just by the fact that it's his sport. Just the same as if they put 4-ounce gloves and got in an octagon, it would be a lot shorter. I think the 10-ounce gloves is a stalemate. I think if I'm Floyd, I want 12. I think if I'm Conor, I want 8. They probably met in the middle, I'm guessing. 154, win for Conor. I'm sorry. He's just a bigger man. He's made 55. He's made 45 a million times. He can make 55 in his sleep. So he can make 54 easily. He's going to be the bigger man, just like Dana White said. He's going to come from angles that Floyd isn't used to, but Floyd fights a defense that Conor's never seen. So, I mean, what gives? I've said this before. I think if Floyd was to stop Conor, and Conor was the gas, like all the genius fight fans out there that know everything about fighting all of a sudden and say, oh, Conor's going to gas. I think there's a situation where Conor could gas. And I think that's him completely going for the gusto from the beginning, walking Floyd down, saying that you cannot hit me hard enough to knock me out, so I'm going to take your punches to get mine. It's Not the best strategy in the world. It might be his only shot. It's not the best strategy in the world because he will get hit, and he will get hit a lot. And he probably won't hit Floyd as much as you think he will. But if you're to believe, and I am of this belief with Conor McGregor, some people just have special talent. Conor McGregor knocking people out is a special talent. And do not let the Nate Diaz fights fool you. Nate Diaz is a very big man compared to Conor. Okay? That's a big guy Conor fought there. And Nate took a lot. And I'll tell you this, I am not a Nate Diaz fan, but he's a tough son of a bitch. He's a rugged kid. From another kid from the streets, a tough, fucking badass motherfucker. Okay? There's a lot there with Nate Diaz. But I'll tell you this. You also saw a little about that with Max Holloway with Conor. Even though Holloway, size-wise, wasn't Diaz, but Holloway's a rugged, Hawaiian kid. But all these guys that McGregor's fought pretty much in the UFC, he just tattoos these, murks these motherfuckers, man. He destroys them. He doesn't just beat them. He destroys them. They could say all they want about the Mendes fight, about Mendes only having 10 days, this, that, and the other thing. Mendes had one chance, staying on top of Conor and pounding him out. And he couldn't do it. And the bottom line is, 145, 155-pound guys, they can't take Conor's power. And if you listen to the open in the show, something very telling from Mayweather. His hands. His hands are shot. His hands are shot. Now, can he slap him out there and defend enough to win 10, 11 rounds? Maybe even 12. 9? More than enough to win the fight? Abso-fucking-lutely. Because he's that good of a defensive fighter. I don't think he's going to be as fast as the last Floyd you saw. Listen. People age. The idea that because somebody's great, they don't age is insane. You don't think there's going to be ring rust for Floyd Mayweather in a real fight? Especially against an unknown. As much as you could say that Conor has no experience, you could easily say, how does Floyd Mayweather prepare for Conor McGregor in a boxing match? How do you prepare for a guy you don't know what he's going to do? From some stupid half-ass sparring session video? If you think Floyd's even watched that, you're crazy. Because Floyd's not that stupid. He might not be able to read. But when it comes to fighting, he's not that stupid. I'll tell you something else. Conor. If you think Conor, you see this flashy, driving these nice cars, wearing fur coats, hanging out, doing this, that, and the other, here and there on TMZ. You listen to what Conor really says. There's no lying in the guy, number one. Most of the time, whatever he says is going to happen, happens anyway. But he's not lying. He said, I've seen every shot that Mayweather's been hit with. It wouldn't shock me if Conor McGregor's been watching tape on Floyd Mayweather for 3 years. He might not have seen every shot, but there's a lot of truth in that statement he gave you. Again, is that going to be enough to offset the disparity in the idea that you have a guy going into his 50th boxing match with a guy who's got 0? I don't know. My head tells me no. My heart, even in a way, tells me no. Don't get your hopes up. But it's possible. You could call the fight a spectacle. You could call it a work. I know I got a lot of wrestling listeners out there that want to call this a work. I'll tell you something right now. This idea that Floyd's going to win a close decision, they're going to have a rematch, I wouldn't even bet on that. I really wouldn't. I personally think Conor loses, he's done in boxing. He's made his money. It doesn't hurt what he's done in MMA. The only possible way Conor McGregor gets hurt in this is if he loses that fight and then goes and fights in November for the UFC and loses. They're going to say, you took your attention off MMA, blah, 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 blah. That's going to be a tough spot for Conor. But at that point, bank account-wise, Conor don't give a fuck. But legacy-wise, he will. I said this on a show on this network last week. If the miracle were to happen, I don't think you see Conor fight again. Now, I could be dead wrong about that. I just wonder how you top it. I don't think you can top it. I don't think you can. He could live off that for the rest of his life. Not only the money he's going to make in his fight, this guy could do movies. He could do this, that, and the other. There'd be a million books around it. You'd never hear the end of it. They put him on. He could be a freaking color guy for boxing and MMA. Speaking of that, thank God Mauro Ranallo is the lead commentator for this fight. There is no other guy that should be calling this fight but Mauro Ranallo. First of all, he's got that distinctive voice, which is tremendous. He's actually my second favorite commentator to Doc Emmerich. And you hockey fans, you know Doc Emmerich. That guy is tremendous. And Mauro Ranallo in this spot is right there. He's a boxing guy. He's an MMA guy. He's a big fight voice. He's even more well known now because of his short time with the WWE. Mauro, there is not a better guy who could call it. In a perfect world, you'd have Mauro and like a Malignaggi and Rogan. It doesn't sound like Rogan wants any part of doing it. Brendan Schaub is a good. That's a big spot for a guy who hasn't called a lot of fights. Hasn't really been in that realm, but he's very knowledgeable. Very. My guess is you'll get Mauro and a Malignaggi and maybe a Brian Stan, or you're just going to get Mauro and the boxing guy. I think you can live with Mauro and the boxing guy because I think Mauro respects mixed martial arts enough that he will give you the Conor story. You don't want it to just be the boxing broadcast that just gives you the Floyd side and the how dare this guy come into our sport, our purity. I mean, every time I hear that, I chuckle. Purity. Oh, God. Not even the money they count on is fucking pure. Come on, man. Purity. The purity. Oh, God. I mean, it's kind of boxing purists. I mean, give me a fucking break. Oh, Malone. Anyway, I lost my train. I lost my train of thought there. But I think Mauro will give you the MMA side, the Conor side, the difference in the disciplines, maybe there becomes a healthy respect for both MMA to boxing and boxing to MMA here when you see what the athletes go through to prepare for something like this. Or what MMA fighter, there's a lot of boxing people out there that don't know what MMA fighters do to prepare. Go back to George St. Pierre and look at his schedule when he was the UFC champion. When they used to do those access shows, this guy was driving all over fucking Canada daily to jiu-jitsu here. He's in this guy, he trained all over the country, in other countries. Just trained everywhere with everybody, with top guys. We talked about this a lot when Ronda Rousey hit her wall, hit her ceiling. How she never advanced her training and never stepped her game up. You see it with Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Top level, I can go out and get better. George St. Pierre never settled. Guys like Conor McGregor don't settle. Guys like Floyd Mayweather don't settle. They constantly train harder and improve. That's why they're the best. There's God-given shit there, don't get me wrong. But there's a lot of hard work and dedication. Hard work, dedication. You think those words are spoke for nothing at Mayweather's gym? Sorry. They have a meaning. They have a meaning. They have a meaning to both these guys. And at the end of the day, all the trash talk and everything else, I think the two fighters have a healthy respect for each other. And, aside of Mayweather that's being portrayed now, is probably pretty accurate. That Mayweather wanted to also fight a guy who could carry a press conference, who it didn't have to be all him promoting. Like when Mayweather fights Andre Berto, it's all Mayweather. Even when he fought Pacquiao's never going to say anything to get people excited. Now he's got Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor's mouth be moving faster than Floyd's. Conor's probably got a list of insults already, ready to go. But at the end of the day, I think there's a respect there. I think the build will be tremendous. I think the pressers, the face-to-face, the trash talk, the constant breaking down of the fight, you're going to hear it ad nauseum. You're going to hear it. You're going to hear it from me ad nauseum. I'm going to say it over and over again. If Conor does this, if Floyd does that, how could Conor possibly do this? You're going to hear it ad nauseum till August 26th. And the fight will probably never live up to that hype. But I think it's going to be more entertaining than people are giving it credit for. I think you'll get more out of that fight than you got out of Mayweather and Pacquiao. Because I think Conor is just one of those special guys who gives you that. I think he'll find a way to at least give you a representative effort. And at the end of the day, that's a win for Conor McGregor in MMA. Now, that doesn't mean I need Stipe Miocic trying to call out Anthony Joshua. And Anthony Joshua's dead wrong for saying he doesn't know Stipe Miocic, because you know he knows. But the bottom line is this. Just because Conor can do this in a way, doesn't mean all these MMA fighters need to, I got to go to boxing. I'm the UFC heavyweight champion, so I should find the boxing heavyweight champion. I'm the UFC welterweight champion, so I should fight the boxing welterweight. No. Let's not go down this road. And boxing people need to remember what's happened to boxing people when they've tried to step into the realm of MMA. I think they could just do it with their hands. Ask James Toney how well that worked out for him. You think Mayweather's crazy? He's not. Because if he was crazy, he put them 4-ounce gloves on and be like, all right, let's dance. Let's see what's better. And Conor go easy on him to make sure he got home that night. When Conor said, fuck the UFC, fuck boxing, fuck MMA, fuck sports, two guys fight, easy work. He's not kidding. Okay? He's not kidding. Mayweather can talk about all he wants. I fight like a man standing up. Nah, dude. This ain't the sweet science. Real life fighting. You don't want to fight a guy like Conor McGregor if you're Floyd Mayweather. Nope. That's why you have 350-pound bouncers. You know what I mean? But on that note, we're going to get out of here. Thanks, guys, for listening. This is the first of many parts. I'm not going to give names yet because we're still working on all the details. But we will get one or two MMA fighters on. We will get a boxing side on, at least one, probably two. And I'm hopeful to get my old trainer on who is not only a boxing coach, but also high-level black belts in many martial arts. And I think he could give a very good perspective on a lot of this stuff. And there's a Bellator fighter that my cousin happens to be friends with, who's very high on Conor in this fight, and I'd like to get his side of it, so we're hopefully going to work that out. So hopefully we'll have some guests for you, and every week, just look out for it. We're going to keep building and building till we get to the fight. Be excited about it. It's not a bad thing. There's nothing bad about it. If it's too rich for your blood, get all your boys together, some pizza and some beers, throw down and get that fight. You trust me, it's going to be worth it. The only way it's not is if Floyd Aldo's Mayweather, which probably will, or Floyd Aldo's Mayweather, if Conor Aldo's Mayweather and knocks him out with one punch. I mean, if that ever happened, I probably paid double, but I wouldn't count on that. Anyway, we'll break it down. We'll get some guests for you. I also want to get my boy, and I haven't told him this yet, but we're going to get him on one of these shows, Hollywood Edwards, because I want to get a novice fan's perspective. Not necessarily a boxing guy, maybe watching a little MMA, just a casual onlooker who maybe likes big events. Maybe Edwards is that guy. So we'll see if we could get him on and talk about that too. But we're going to wrap this up. YouTube, this is all you're going to hear. If you're listening, once again, on iTunes or Spreaker, we got about a 15-minute clip of just Conor and Floyd trash talk, which is absolutely hilarious, especially the way it was put together. So listen to that, enjoy that. We'll talk to you guys next week.